welcome to another episode of the Shootout. We have made the bye round and Tom Coolican. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to look at a bit of a team of the mid-season, but in round 8, the conditions ended up being pretty good. They were dry, very windy, with some fascinating clashes.
Yeah, absolutely. Round 8, round of the upsets, as it ended up being. Our two teams at the top of the table, Ringer and Eastern Suburbs, both toppled. University too good at the birthplace and at TG Milner. Warringah just couldn't quite get it done. That was a tight one.
With the bye, we don't have any games to preview, and we'll dive into the reviews in a sec. But as mentioned, this week we're going to have a look at our team of the mid-season and go through each position and have a look at some of the standout performers in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield through the first 8 rounds. But Coolo, the match of the round in round 8 was Eastwood versus Warringah after Gordon and Norths was moved to Wallara Oval because Chatswood Oval was closed, and Eastwood turned up a big performance.
Didn't they what? It was great to see a massive crowd on the eastern side there in the sun at TG Milner. Farewelling, one of the great venues, only 3 games to go. And I tell you what, Josh Holmes's record with Drew Tonks, it just continues. Look, it's tough for the Rats. It's lonely at the top. Teams coming for you every single week, defending premiers. That's something as well that you need to battle with every single week. It doesn't matter if it's West at Concord or it's East at home, which is a game we've got coming up on July 11th. It's taxing. Teams are coming for you every single week. And look, the Rats came out swinging. I thought Jaden Christian crashing over, courtesy of an error pass from Gonzalez. The Rats looked a little bit disjointed. Pass not quite sticking, but momentum was there and they started well out of the blocks. I think the discipline was a bit of an issue for them. We touched upon Drew Tonks' interpretation of the breakdown. 4 penalties in a row, and Eastwood Park went to work. Diggai crashed over. He was outstanding, very physical all game. And then off a dominant scrum, the Rats found themselves back in the right part of the field, and Barnabas was able to crash over into more, parting like the Red Sea. Christian dragging him over. Great bit of team play there. I think from there, though, there's a couple of yellow cards for half-time, and that really rattled the Warringah side. But they went in down 15-14, so it was a close game there at half-time. I think there the game was up for the taking, and when Sheldon crashed over, Eastwood started to get a bit of momentum. There were a couple of crucial turnovers that didn't go their way. Sheldon and Parsons combined for a massive turnover, stopping some momentum. And then Barnabas in the 63rd minute, you could see he was really frustrated. Ben Maher was frustrated, with interpretation of the breakdown by Drew Tonks. I also thought Bo Abra and Ivan Fepalui probably should have got a bit more pay at the scrum time. They were very dominant. They just couldn't get the reward, couldn't get the penalty, couldn't get the points, converting that pressure. At the end of the day, though, Woods were very impressive. They were big, they were angry, and they were accurate. And for the most part, the electric back 3 really did a good job. Shelley, Crow, and Nelson, they were outstanding as well on both sides of the board. Diggai, Sheldon, Griffin, and Legg, superb as well. Eastwood, 27-24, knocking down our defending premiers. Massive win at TG Milner.
Huge stuff there. At Foreshore, Southern Districts 23, Manly 36. It was a good crowd at Foreshore. They continue to do great things off the field, and the performances on the field continuing to impress, but still chasing that elusive victory. And Manly had Souths on the back foot early. Joe Dillon scored the opener after sustained possession and repeat phases from Manly. Then Kahia and Misaloy cut Souths open through the middle, and chaos at the breakdown, and we got almost a Shute Shield's fastest winger teaser as Nickel ran the length of the field and had to go diagonally to avoid Yule. But it gave Souths a bit of a lift, and they had a good little period. Couple of penalty goals, then Yule a nice try for Manly to give them the lead again. Meli Dreu continues to impress, and he split Souths open to start the second half. Dylan and Dickens steering Manly really well, and another piece of Dreu magic put K over, and it was 33-11 after 60 minutes. Don McGrath scored twice to make it a bit more competitive, and Oscar Friend came off the bench with a bit of impact as well. So a couple more positives for Southern Districts, but Manly heading down to Foreshore 36-23. Their march up the table continues. And then Coolo University 33, Eastern Suburbs 10.
Yeah, look, it's been really exciting to see the steady improvement of Sydney University. Since round 1, that 30-point drubbing versus Warringah, they've been steadily on the increase and improvement since there. Look, it's going to take time. The catalyst for it obviously could be the Joe Fowler-Schmood combination, but I think the cohesion is just starting to really come together. I think also their defence as well. That's something that's really stepped up. The Pullmans were brilliant in the midfield. I also think Joe Fowler at 10, he gets you out of trouble, but he also executes, and that's the difference, at this level, having a really good quality 10, at the Shute Shield. Look, I don't want to take anything away from Sydney University. It was a really emphatic win, but they got the bounce of the ball. The 12th minute try to Schmood with the line-out overthrow, that was indicative of that, as was the chip over the top from Fowler to Pullman, too. That, sometimes it just happens to be a day, and that was certainly a day for University. It was really interesting there, though. Serpentine crashed over in the 48th minute, but that was it for East. They were held scoreless for the last 30 minutes, essentially. That's the first time this season we haven't seen the Eastern Suburbs more score a try, which is a huge statement for them, in round 8. Liam Winton, speaking to him during the week, they chose to sack the back and contest aerially, in those middle parts of the line out, and they disrupted the ball and O'Kane consistently overthrowing, and it really unsettled the Eastern Suburbs side that, also off the back of University's fantastic discipline in the midfield, which didn't allow territory or field position. When they did get down there, they were able to nullify that more. I think as well, University, doing a great job of plugging their gaps. That midfield work from the Pullmans, which you touched upon, they were outstanding. The back 3-2 did a great job with territory and field position. Eastern Suburbs, though, they're on their third string 10 with Sam Walker there. They've got Super Rugby players coming back. They needed the bye weekend. Teams coming for you every single week. It's exhausting. That's a mid-season grand final for Sydney University. Okovi was brilliant. Regan was brilliant. The big boys up front were doing the hard yards. Mangelsdorf as well. Just what University want going to a bye. That big win versus Gordon, that big win versus Eastern Suburbs, they're certainly heading the right way at this part of the season, Will.
Randwick 35 versus West Harbour 19. Windy conditions at Coogee, and Randwick have been going on a bit of a roll. They'd be pretty pleased with themselves. They've got an exciting list of players who have come through Colts and then the established veterans as well. But Mitch Short steering them so well. James Hendren looking terrific as he does in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. Hendren with the first try, then nice Serrani the second. Felix Tiranui on debut, kicking the extras to both. Came all hit back for West Harbour from close to the line, continuing his great work around the field, as well as being that strong and disruptive presence in the front row for West Harbour. And then Tiranui on the end of some short Hendren combinations for his first try in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. There's been a bit of buzz around him after that performance, and he kicked really well all day in those conditions, kicked his own conversion, made it 11 points in the first 30 for him. West Harbour forwards kept working away. Aidan Wern with their second, doing what he does, helped make it 21-14 at the break. Then West Harbour scored their third try while Randwick had a man in the bin for repeat infringements. It was 21-19, but a late try from Sipple made it 35-19, and Randwick just too good at home, and they would be in a much happier place at Coogee Oval than they were a month ago in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. Gordon, 29, Coolo against Norths, 19, the late game on Saturday.
Yeah, probably not the usual excitement of a Battle of the North, given the game was taking place in the heart of the Eastern Suburbs. Both sides, pilgrims in a foreign land is the expression that comes to mind. Brandon Quinn in his 100th first grade game, what an achievement that is. You could see Gordon were up for it. Different venue, different time. Gordon just seemed to handle the change better. Gordon scored early through excellent skills from Alberts, finding Bacon crashing over. But Norths were energetic. It's a great little burst through from Amoni. One-handed offload to Hooper. That was a superb try. A real tick-for-tack kind of scoring moment there from both sides. Josh Barr with a lovely little short ball through, crashing over. Gordon then capitalising on an inability to exit from Northern Suburbs. 22-19 going into the sheds. And it was a pretty disappointing and flat second half. Milan Basson crashing over. Gordon scrum certainly seemed to really create some ascendancy there on Northern Suburbs. And that was the catalyst for them to find field position and just kind of shut out Northern Suburbs. Scoreless in the second half. That's probably the third time that's happened this season. I guess the point here too is the AstroTurf. It suits some teams, it doesn't suit others. And for this Gordon side, with so many attacking threats in the back line, it really does suit them. And the speed and width that Alberts is able to provide, Hickey's able to set in as that second ball carrying option. And Barry Corral can act as either that middleman looping the back line together, or just as a ball carrier. I think as well, the Gordon scrum was outstanding. Liam Usher to Funga, Milan Basson as well. Good to have him back. North scores second half. We touched upon that. Good to see Gergakowski back. He'll add some spark, but North's just missing that cavalry off the bench. I'll be disappointed. 0 points, in the second half again.
Western Sydney 2 Blues 31, Hunter Wildfires 29. An entertaining clash between two of the entertainers in the competition. Both have big forward packs. The Western Sydney 2 Blues backline is so settled, and potentially the difference in this one, there was a bit of razzle-dazzle for the opening two tries where Sue released Mahutaniki Fake Lelu, who showed great pace, and then Brendan Palmer continued his great season with another try. Tetamaki, Goodall, Nordstrom combined for the 2 Blues second. Then Hunter's forwards got a bit more involved. They found a way to stay in it. And Baden Stewart's try after Smiler Arkeong's elusiveness gave the 2 Blues a 24-17 lead at the break. Hunter's got real spirit. You know that they will never go away. Palmer's second after repeated determination from up front made it 24-22. Talaleva working hard as he does, but Smiler Arkeong continued to cause problems. Great footwork, strong in the carry, elusive. Then Liam Lord-Picton dropped it over. Well, he didn't drop it over. He flopped over in the 74th, helped make it 31-22 to the home side. And then a try in the 82nd minute made it 31-29. So Hunter, plenty of fight, but 2 Blues just that little bit too good, and we're able to stretch away and be comfortable, if that's the right word in that sense, given that Hunter was within arm's reach, but just kept at bay towards the end. So that is it, round 8 and into the bye. Perfect time to have a look at some of the best performers through the opening 2 months. Well, Coolo, we are 8 rounds through the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. 10 rounds to go after the bye, and at this time of the season, no better time to look at some of the better performers in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield, and we're creating our team of the mid-season. Now, I've seen some of your selections and I like them, but I'm going to disagree on a couple, but I think the discussion's great. So starting off with the loose head prop, a bit of a short list. Players who have stood out for varying reasons. Their work in the scrum, their work around the field, how they've shored up that front row or the pack for their teams. Jack Barrett at Randwick, Cam Orr at West Harbour, Sateki Latu at Warringah, Fred Kaihia at Manly, Rob Cobbett Easts, and then special mentions as well to Liam Usher at Gordon and George Thornton at Norths. But for mine, Cam Orr takes the spot in my team of the mid-season in the number 1 shirt from West Harbour. His work around the ground, his structure in the scrum, but also the leadership. Where do you see the lucid props through the first 8 rounds?
There's no doubt that Cam Orr's had a huge role for West Harbour on and off the field. Critical, in their early season. But for me, the ultimate purpose of the Shute Shield is for players to rise and be promoted to the next level. And, Jack Barrett, after that round 4 game versus Northern Suburbs, where he carried that Randwick pack, him and Isa Naisarani were the only people getting any go forward. Anita Finau as well. I thought Barrett got rewarded with selection in Dunedin against the Highlanders, and he got a couple of starts this season. I thought he was outstanding versus the Western Force. His scrummaging has come light years. It really has improved. We saw last year Sifra Moni absolutely stitching him up, at North Sydney Oval on a couple of occasions. His work around the park, his ball carrying, his work rate. He's the complete loose head prop, and he's really maturing. And that's what happens. It takes time for props to develop at this level and to build that man strength as you do in your mid-20s. And I see a huge future for him, given his ability on both sides of the ball, but also that work rate coupled with that scrummaging strength and dominance. So, yeah, Jack Barrett for me, not just because of his haircut, hands down.
His numbers through the games that he has played per minute are extraordinary. And the reason I went Cam Orr was maybe just a few more games in the comp, but maybe it was a bit of a cop-out. Jack Barrett's been immense. You make a great case. Now, hookers. Who stood out for you? The shortlist, I think, is a bit shorter from a hooker's perspective because there are some clear dominant figures.
I'd have 12. They're all superstars in my eyes.
I love that. Look, on the Randwick feature, Anita Finau, I think, makes the shortlist similarly to what you said about Barrett, the way he evolved through the opening month of the competition, got himself a nod in higher honours, and he'll be better for that when he comes back for Randwick, who are building beautifully. But which hookers stand out for you?
Well, Wes Thomas, the defending Ken Catchpole Medal Award winner, has been outstanding. I think if you look at the core capabilities of a hooker, obviously scrummaging and line-out throwing are both critical. If a line-out's not functioning, it's not necessarily the hooker's fault. I often say it's the last thing you look at, unless it's clearly not straight, that if a team isn't winning line-outs. But Wes Thomas, he hits his mark, all areas of the line-out, all parts of the game. He goes 80 minutes most weeks. Doesn't matter if it's the 79th minute or the first minute. He's hitting back balls, hard throws that are giving options, to that Warringah line-out, which has been a huge part of their kind of dominance this season. His ability around the park as well, I think he's outstanding there. His work rate. Look, he's probably not like a James Margaret who's really good over the ball, making 2 or 3 turnovers a game. And Anita Finau's probably better at the collision and contact than Wes Thomas, but he's no slouch. And if you look at him across all areas and facets of the game, I think he's been brilliant. But I mean, look at like Robbie Ramasco over at West Harbour. He's brilliant as well. Declan Moore at Sydney University. I think we're blessed in the Shute Shield for a huge depth at the competition level. And line out, even at the rugby level, such a contestable part of the game. I think it's pretty impressive at this level how good the throwers are. Around the park and around the competition.
Can't agree more from a Wes Thomas perspective. He takes the number 2 in my team of the mid-season. And James Margan, the other on that shortlist, I think, as well. And you spoke about him. He's had a great start to the campaign with North, so important. So maybe the most glamorous position in the 15 now, the tight head prop. Names I'm keen to put on the shortlist. Will Goddard at Eastwood puts himself there very quickly. Maka Mafaleo from Manly. Rian Lowry from East. Sifa Omono from North with the games he's played in the past month. And Bo Abra over at Rats with either time he's mixing starting or coming off the bench for them. Who stands out for you?
I thought Maka Mafaleo, particularly in that early Battle of the Beaches round, really went up against that Warringah side. And he's stepped up physically around the park and he's also scrummaging as well. He's also having to play big minutes. You can't underestimate how hard it is to play big minutes at prop. And Will Goddard only played 40 minutes last week. His knee was heavily strapped. He played almost 80 minutes, the week before, for Eastwood. So, look, I mean, I think probably it's tight up there. Rion Lowry for Eastern Suburbs, we know what he can do. I'd probably go with Will Goddard. I think he's worked really, really hard this year on his scrummaging. He was brilliant versus Manly. Even with only 40 minutes last week, I thought he was outstanding as well. He's worked great. He scored a great try as well last week too. Yeah, Will Goddard for me has been consistent week in, week out for the Woodies.
Eastwood scrum is statistically the best in the competition with their own feed. And I think Will Goddard is a huge reason for that. And we hear players talk about the impact that he has and just how full on he is into understanding the sciences of the scrums. A big future for Will Goddard. I think he gets the nod in the 3 for me as well. Now, Locke, another Eastwood player who I think deserves a big mention for how he's driven their team is Jai Legg, but Will McDonald has had a massive season around the park for West Harbour and has been central to what they do in the tight work, but also making sure they keep running the ball. Sam Thompson leads the comp in a lot of the usual statistics from a line-out perspective in terms of takes. Josh Boxer, similarly for East, has also been great around the ground and making sure they keep that pace and momentum. And Lockie Hooper at North has put up some big numbers as well, the young second rower. So that'd be the shortlist if I had to just choose 5. And I'm not sure how you see it. Who sits there for you?
Yeah, all players, fit the bill there. Sam Thompson runs a great line out on both sides of the ball. He does a great job of getting there, disrupting line out mauls. He's become a master of the dark arts there. Jai Legg's been great as well. Boxer, Hooper's trial last week versus Gordon was brilliant. I think they really missed him in a couple of those games when he was absent. But yeah, for me, probably Sam Thompson, the Scotsman, premiership winner, versatile. They missed him in the first half last week. And yeah, Sam Thompson, out and out for me.
Another lock position to fill, more names to consider. Sione Misaloy from Manly has been terrific in the second row and or in the back row. Keelan Whitman in Warringah, some would say he's playing a little bit out of position, but he has been immense in the 5 for Warringah and so consistent. Jack Tuffer-Wells does what he does for East and continues to be a premier lock in the competition. Micah Ash-Gillard at Hunter has been a big reason that their forward pack has been so strong and, again, versatile around the grounds. Xavier Houston at Randwick has had a big start to the season statistically. His work around the grounds and in the line-out has been terrific. And Will McDonald for West Harbour. We mentioned him before, another who can play in that 5 shirt. So some more names to consider. Who would fill the number 5 shirt for you?
And Jack Tuffer-Wells just goes about his work. Real hard working, gets in, rolls his sleeves up, gets the work done. He's been consistent. He's always there. He's worked the set piece, particularly that maul. You can see the separation that he creates so defensive sides can't reach over there. He does his job. He does it right, does it well every single time. Good, hard-working second rower.
So, recapping for you, Jack Barrett, Wes Thomas, Will Goddard, Sam Thompson, and Tuffer Wells. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then I've got Cam Orr, Wes Thomas, Will Goddard. I'm going with Josh Boxer and Xavier Houston. But gosh, it's hard to leave a few of those players out while we go through this. Pretty solid forward pack so far. So, into the six, the blind side. Names I've put on a short list for mine. Aidan Wern at Wests. George Gibson at East, who's been unleashed on the side of the scrum. Jake Barnabas at Rats has been terrific. Stovoid at Gordon, Daniel Stovoid for the Highlanders, and Joe Manglesdorf at Uni, who fills your number 6 shirt.
Yeah, Joe Manglesdorf for me. He played at 7 as well the last couple of weeks, and I think he's been equally impressive there. He spent time in the Australian under-20s, but doesn't necessarily matter at the Shute Shield level. It's different competition. I think Manglesdorf is exceptional at liner, exceptional around the park. He's big, he's abrasive, he's aggressive. He's been a big key reason why Sydney University, are on the upward trajectory, find themselves at 6th after 2 dominant wins. It's the work of Manglesdorf.
I'm going to put Aidan Wern in the 6 shirt for work rate and consistency. He's pumping out big stats, big minutes as well. And we've seen just how central he is to any clash that West Harbour is close. I think
he was outstanding versus Eastwood, wasn't he? He was brilliant.
Yeah. Continues to lift as well, and that versatility he offers. They've been playing him in the 8 shirt a little bit as well, but primarily if they can pick him at 6 and let him go, he's great in line out as well. So the open side, I think it's going to be hard to go past Barnabas, but we are blessed. We've got some great 7s in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. Jack Parsons at Eastwood. Ben DeStazo at Manly's had a great start to the season. Braden Stewart, the 2 Blues, is terrifying and working his way into things across all of the statistical categories. Archie Gavin, though, at East has been enormous. His tries prolific at the back of the maul, but work around the ground to start the season in particular was great. But for mine, it's hard to go past Zach Barnabas.
Yeah, Zach Barnabas set the benchmark for the last few seasons for his work at the Jackal at the breakdown. He's so physical and he's so consistent. If he's not taking a turnover, he's slowing the ball down. I thought DeStazo went with him for 40 minutes in that Battle of the Beaches game, but 40 minutes only, really, to be candid. I also thought Jack Parsons last week really gave it to him. I don't think Barnabas got the rub of the green last week from Drew Tonks for some of those calls. There's some line ball calls that didn't go his way, but yeah, Zach Barnabas for me, he is the complete 7.
Yeah, having a great start to 2026, just continues to do what he does. Right, number 8, we talk about glamour positions and being blessed for ability and class in the competition. This is just a terrific lineup of players. So a short list for mine: Clayton France at Warringah, Mitieli Tuinaka Vanra at Souths, Isi Naisarani, Randwick, Tavita Ahakovi, Uni, Jimmy Hokafuna at East, and TJ Talaleva at Hunter. You could rattle off plenty more names in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. Have I missed anyone? And who stands out as the Premier 8 through the first 2 months for you?
Tuinaka Vanra has been outstanding this season. I think Xavier Digai I'd probably have on that list as well. I think he's been brilliant. The Penrith Junior. It's really interesting because Issa Naisarani has found a second win this year at Randwick, and there's been a lot of talk about him having a second crack at Super Rugby at that next level. His work rate, which at times has drifted in and out, his ability to go for 80 minutes, and his ability to stay in the game and make minimal mistakes. I think he's having a much better season this year. TJ Talavia as well has been brilliant for the Hunter. And Tavita Akovi's really finding a gear the last couple of weeks as well as he kind of gels with the Uni 9 and 10 combination. But Issa Naisarani, for me, he's the one that probably stands out with honourable mention of Xavier Digai.
Yep. Naisarani for me too, and Tuinaka Vandra, because of how often he's kept Souths in the ball game or set them up and put them on the front foot, just misses out. But geez, Clayton France has been enormous to start the season as well. All of those players. So, we've got some good ball running 8s in the competition. Now, scrum half. East's Connor Tupai, Warringah's Ben Fuhiniu, Billy Dickens at Manly, Will Goddard at Eastwood, Mitch Short with Randwick, Lockie Albert at Gordon, and Logan Love at Hunter for mine. I know I've mentioned half the competition, but those nines, I think, have been central anytime their team's playing well. Statistically, they stack up for different reasons in terms of kicking or defence, breaking the line. Who would fill your scrum half spot for the team of the mid-season?
Fui Neo has been really consistent. He's also played a lot of minutes. You want to look at players that have played every game and have played most of the 80 minutes. Halfbacks hate coming off. It's as old as time, that one. Logan Love hasn't played enough footy, I don't think, to really probably warrant selection. But I probably think Will Goddard's battling with Gonzalez at the moment for that position. Lockie Albert at Gordon's been quite consistent. Billy Dickens has been immense. I think his combination with Joe Dillon, which we'll get to shortly, has been huge. But kind of Tupai as well. Obviously, having to take more of a role with Jack Bowen, moving off, and Chris Bell too. They're at third string 10 down at Eastern Suburbs. Ben Fuineo, for me, has probably just been so consistent with Byron Smith coming in there, a new 10, and Kobe Milne no longer there. He's had to really take a lot of a bigger role, and he's kept Ringer in games. His kicking, his running, his athleticism, his second touches. Yeah, for me, it's Ringer Rat 9, Ben Fuineo.
Is there for me too, for much of what you just said. And his defensive stats are great as well in terms of how he's tackling and getting involved and making sure those gaps are closed down. So, Warringah going so well, and he's a big part of that. Right, the 10.
So fly half, are we going to look past Joe Dillon? Let's just say Joe Dillon and stop and just move on.
I'm making a case for Rod Yona. Rod Yona fills my 10 shirt, the way that he's been able to keep Western Sydney 2 Blues right around the top 4 throughout the start of the season, the way he's kicked, the way he's converted, the way he has pulled the strings for the 2 Blues. I hear the Joe Dillon love. And I think by the end of the season, maybe it is Dillon for me, but I can't go past Yona. Off a short list of Byron Smith at Warringah, we could make a great case for him. Joe Dillon, yes, at Manly. Harry Snook at Gordon as well, and then Rod Yona's the other 10. I think they are the 4 class 10s. Joey Fowler, though, is emerging with Sydney Uni in the past few rounds.
You got Jack Bowen, and you got Max Bury that have also worn the jersey. Jack Bowen's finished the season as the starting Waratahs 10.
Yeah,
he was fighting for a contract. Isn't that something else? He's played the first four rounds in the Shute Shield, found himself on the bench in Dunedin, and he's now the starting 10 going toe-to-toe with Super Rugby players. I think that's brilliant. And I'm really looking forward to seeing if we can get Joe Dillon, Jack Bowen, and Max Bury all playing the Shute Shield. The competition is going to be the benefactor of that. It's going to be brilliant. Yep. Everyone's going to rise to it.
Yeah. So the 10, who's... I
love
Dillon. The Bowen. Joe Dillon.
We didn't even have to do any of that. Just Joe Dillon.
I like...
Cut above.
I like the Bowen call, though. The way he started, he was a different level, wasn't he? So there you go. There are our 10s. Left wing. I'll always start with Dylan Nelson just because of how big he is emerging as one of the fan favourites. But other names, and maybe their numbers stand out a tiny bit more, but Charlie Tupou from Warringah, Matt Whelan at Wests, David Nicol at Souths, Ollie Dawkins has had a great start with Easts, Lalungi Visania at the 2 Blues, Brendan Palmer at Hunter, and Justin Landman at Gordon. We are blessed with some great wingers in the comp this year. Who fills your left wing spot?
I mean, look, Dylan Nelson's been brilliant, Charlie Tupou as well. Ollie Dawkins has really kind of found a bit of a niche role in Eastern Suburbs, and particularly with Bell and Bowen sort of removing themselves. And we haven't seen a whole lot of Cooper Whitehead this season, and as a result, I really think Dawkins has stepped up, and he scored a lot of tries and a lot of individual brilliant tries, particularly in late games as they open up. He thrives on the AstroTurf. It's great for a winger, and he knows how to pick the bounces. We've seen that on a number of occasions. We know he's more dominant, but Ollie Dawkins, for me, he's been outstanding this season and takes the cake there.
Hard one to fill, but on the balance of impact, consistency, and a few statistical categories, including carries and meters, I'm going with Lalungi Visania at the 2 Blues, who has had a big start to the season on the left wing. Inside centre, LeBron Naya at Warringah has been coming off the bench a little bit of late, but his impact's been huge. Cam McKenzie's start to the campaign was phenomenal. There are some gaps in his game that Southern Districts are looking to build on, and he's been coming off the bench and playing some minutes in second grade, but his first 5 rounds statistically and impact-wise were massive, certainly in attack as well. Seb Visanier at the 2 Blues and Eddie Pullman at Uni, but an asterisk, and I love what you've done here with your backline. Otto Serfontein, who has been one of the top 2 outside centres. We know how good he is at inside centre. You've got him in the 12 jersey. I love it so much. I'm going to borrow it. Are we staying with Serfontein in the 12?
Yeah, look, Eddie Pullman I thought was brilliant these last 2 weeks. His try at Eastern Suburbs last week turned the game in many ways, put it to bed. But Otto Serfontein, week in, week out consistency, from round 1 through to round 8, it's hard to go past him, even though Pullman's been brilliant the last 2 games. You have to go with Serfontein. He's grown. I think he's put on a bit of weight. He's grown a speed, like a step or two as well. His acceleration's really improved. We knew he could tackle, but he's really busting those first tackles, and his post-contact meters are really impressive as well.
Love that. Cam McKenzie, unlucky to miss out in mine, so he's almost a bracket with Serfontein, but love that. Serfontein in the 12, which leads us to the 13, and it's Jackson Rapata for me, and that combination is phenomenal as far as young talent goes. Other names well worth mentioning and considering: Isaac Ratamatavuki-Neepkins from Souths, Nathan Russell from Norths is turning back the clock and showing that he's still got a lot of great football in front of him. Isaac Tetamaki at Western Sydney 2 Blues, and Serfontein in his own right at 13. But Rapata for mine, and I imagine that's for you as well. Yeah,
Jackson Rapata's been the benchmark this season. He's just gone from strength to strength, tore Manly apart on those outside edges. He's done it every week. University in round 1. He's been brilliant. I thought Nathan Russell's hit on Cam McKenzie was a hit of the season, and it's been noted. And Tetamaki, versus Eastwood at TG Milner, I thought was absolutely brilliant. So that individual game probably deserves acknowledgement, but hard to go past Jackson Rapata.
Yep. The right wing, Will Kay at Manly is on my shortlist. Lockie Shelley at Eastwood. Well, he's warming into the season to his huge standards very, very well. Callum Cirker at Norths and Cole Spinks at Gordon, I think, well worth mentioning on the right wing. Who out of that or the wingers we mentioned earlier fills your right wing?
I mean, Callum Cirker's individual brilliance on a couple of those tries. He's got a hat-trick at least once this season. They've had to rely a lot, Norths, on their outside backs, to score points, and he's been brilliant. But Lockie Shelley, I think this season has really stepped up and been counted for. Scored a brilliant try last week, in a critical moment. He's lost a lot of players around him, and he's had to really kind of step up. And I think, big tries and big moments for me, and he's been critical. So I'm going to go to Lockie Shelley for those reasons.
Shelley's on my right wing too, and I think it's going to have a massive.
Great
no, we'll go through it. There are a few differences, and look, we see games differently. We've watched pretty much every game from start to finish throughout the season, so there are definitely things that we've missed, and obviously certain fans will be biased towards their teams. I mean, I can put my hand in the air and say I have zero bias towards any team having never played in the competition and being from country Western Australia.
I've played for half the teams. So.
Yeah, so there you go. So the balance is there. Look, Lockie Shelley's been great, and the stats back it up too. I was surprised at just how impactful he's been on the stat sheet, because a few of the games he's felt a bit quiet because of the standards we expect from him, and I think how prolific he was scoring tries last year. But Shelley's on the right wing. Now, fullback. There is a clear standout for me.
Well, we did miss Ben Willett on the right wing. That's one player.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And he's been in and out a little bit, I think, in the past month, which is probably leaves him up. But yeah, his impact when he is on, you can't miss Ben Willett on the right wing when he's firing. So yeah, Warringah just building that depth. So it's a good segue into the fullback, because Ben Ma for mine, with his impact and leadership and the impact he has in every facet of the game, and when he chooses to put himself in there, is my fullback. But Isaac Crowe at Eastwood makes a huge case. Latrell Smiler-Arkeong, particularly in the past few rounds, as that backline gets to know itself with Tatamaki and Yona and the Vicinias and Suesue. Connor Hickey at Gordon's start to the year was enormous and looms large in the back half. And Shane Wilcox for Norths has done some big things, but they would be my shortlist for consistency, and Ben Ma gets the nod. Who is your fullback?
It's hard to disagree with who's on the shortlist. Connor Hickey last year, the most turnovers in the competition. But this year he's really, really buttoned down, that part of his game. Wilcox has scored big tries in big moments. Isaac Crowe, we saw him, splitting the West Harbour defence apart like the Red Sea. That was critical. But Ben Maher, you just watch his moments and his impacts.
Mm-hmm.
They're in critical parts of the game, and I think he's such an important part of ringer icing games. We've seen it happen probably 2 or 3 times. The comeback versus West Harbour, the win versus Randwick. When that game was in the balance against Manly in round 2, he really just stepped up. The 2 or 3 tries on that left edge were all part of him. Well, he's all part of that. It's Ben Maher. And then there's the leadership part, which you can get to as well. We don't even have to.
No, and that's the thing. Some of those games that Warringah have not struggled in the past month, but really had to fight, and they've been under the pump in the opening half or opening 50 minutes. He has kept them in a lot of those games by just keeping things calm, pushing himself into the line and attack when he needs to, defending well, covers ground so well. He is just
gets involved. He gets involved and has a second touch, and finds that space behind the ruck on that left edge so well. You're right. He's been critical.
So there we go. I think we saved Coach of the Year till the end of the season, and look, we've got Ken Catchpole Medal and Rookie of the Year, which we will chat through in the next episode before we come back from the bye. But I've loved the chat in terms of looking at the 15, and I've loved looking at the stats and all of the games and having a better think about it. So recapping, and correct me if I'm wrong here, your 15, Jack Barrett, Wes Thomas, Will Goddard in the front row, Thompson and Tuffer Wells as the locks, Mangelsdorf, Barnabas, and that's Zach, and Isi Naisarani as your back row. Correct so far?
Spot on.
Sounds pretty good. Ben Fuhiniu at the 9. Dickens unlucky to miss out. Well, you've suggested that he was right in there. Joe Dillon at 10. Ollie Dawkins left wing. Otto Serfontaine centre, inspired. Jackson Rapata at 13. Lockie Shelley at the right wing. And Ben Maher at fullback. It's a fair 15.
A lot of Rats players.
Yeah, well, look, Rats and East, top 2, fair, I think. So I've got a couple of changes. I've got Cam Orr, Wes Thomas, Will Goddard. I've got Boxer and Houston as my second row. Tom Everard, another player in the second row who's had a big season. I've got Aidan Wern, Zach Barnabas and Isi Naisarani as my back row. Fuhiniu, Yona as 9 and 10. Lalangi Visania on the left wing. Serfontaine, who shades Cam McKenzie at inside centre for mine, because I saw what you did with that and I loved it. Jackson Rapata at 13, Lockie Shelley on the right wing and Ben Maher at fullback. So there are some similarities, and I think they're fair similarities. And then a couple of changes as well, probably depending on a few of the games that we've lent towards. But, I mean, those two sides are beating most teams as far as I'm concerned.
I think so. Good balance from either side, and probably a healthy number of players that are performing in sides that are a top part of the table. I mean, it's so hard when you're in a losing side, ball going backwards, all those sort of things. So there's no coincidence that a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's why there's a lot of players from the eastern suburbs and Warringah sides in our teams of the tournament so far.
Yep. Now we'll revisit these through the back half of the season, and naturally, if you have a different take, we'd love to hear it, because
I'm sure there will be lots of takes.
We talk about how much of the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield we watch, but no one follows their own team more than the fans of that team themselves. So make the case and let us know. But Coolo, as always, appreciate your time and your thoughts, and we'll look forward to catching up next time on the Shootout.